First of all, on that debate about objectives, my fear is that there will be political salience or bite for an independent police commissioner in wanting to have reassurance policing on the streets. Although if you take the elected police commissioner for West Yorkshire, where the police commissioner would want the reassurance policing to be and how that fits with where actually the reality of crime is on a daily basis, whether those two things fit, I think is very open to debate. But would there be the same support for an independent police commissioner politically to want to put resources into organised crime, to domestic violence, to the many other less visible aspects but important aspects of policing? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure whether an individual election is really the right way to set police priorities for an area. I'm clear that it needs to be done through people who are accountable, and that is the role of police authorities, but an individual election to set police priorities across such a complex field, I personally have not seen the case for that. Secondly, and this follows very directly, the issue of resources. First of all, in terms of where you allocate your police officers and your back office support, but also the way in which we make savings. There's no doubt, I'm sure you'll all agree with this, if we're to make the kind of savings we need to make, we'll need to do so through collaboration. Collaboration voluntarily across forces, maybe the pooling of resources, maybe specialisation. Will an individual police commissioner elected at the force level make it easier to achieve that kind of cross-force collaboration? Or will actually every independent elected police commissioner want to make sure that their resources are being spent in their area by their police, and to be able to say, we've got all the kit, we've got all the functions? I'm not at all persuaded that an independent elected police commissioner is the right way to get that degree of collaboration in force use, in resource use, let alone to make some of the difficult decisions we'd need to have over, for example, the balance between police officers, PCSOs, back office staff, and different functions, the kind of things that you are all currently debating with your police chiefs. And similarly, when it comes to tackling organised crime and the National Crime Agency, this will require specialisation and use of resources voluntarily, but within a command structure, which may well mean decision-making, as in counter-terrorism, from time to time passing away from the individual force. That's something which you deal with in a mature way on a daily, weekly, annual basis, but an individual elected police commissioner having to give up that kind of control, I'm not persuaded that will work. And then finally, the issue of trust and accountability. I was responsible with Gordon Brown for setting up the independence of the Bank of England, and I grappled for a long period of time about these very difficult issues around getting the balance right between operational independence, in this case for the Governor of the Bank of England, but also effective political accountability in setting the direction of policy, and also the role of Parliament in holding the Bank of England to account. And it is hard. It is a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do at a national level when you have something as straightforward as one target, the inflation target, one lever, the interest rate. But I have to say to you, if rather than the Chancellor of the Exchequer being appointed by the Prime Minister from within the Cabinet, you had a directly elected National Chancellor of the Exchequer, it would have been impossible for a directly elected Chancellor on a directly elected mandate to then hand over and respect the operational independence of the Bank of England month by month, year by year, to set interest rates decisions, to take decisions which absolutely affect the outcomes for which the politician is then accountable. And that is in the rather more simple world of monetary policy making: one meeting, once a month, one decision, one lever. In the very, very complex world of daily policing, I find it very hard to see how a directly elected police commissioner can stand back and properly respect operational independence in day-to-day policing decisions or day-to-day, week-to-week decisions over resource allocation. I fear that it will not be possible to codify this in legislation. A lot will therefore be left to how things turn out in practice, and the way things will turn out in practice in some communities, especially where you have a structure for this to happen, a political locus for decision-making, in London, for example, I think in some areas it can sort of work. I think in West Yorkshire it will be incredibly difficult to make this work without a very substantial encroachment from the individual elected police commissioner onto the operational day-to-day responsibility of the chief constable. And as you say in your own submission, the danger is in order to shore up that operational responsibility, you end up passing over functions and decisions and ownership of assets which end up weakening accountability, democratic accountability, and getting the balance wrong. So, as I said, we will be a responsible opposition. We will look very hard at these issues when the bill is published. But at the moment, I have not seen the case made for this at all. And conviction is not enough when it comes to something as important as the structure, responsibility and accountability of our police forces. We have a near 200-year tradition for good reasons of non-politicised policing, and there should be a proper debate and proper scrutiny. And if people think there's a case, they've got to make the case. It cannot simply happen by default, and it is our responsibility to make sure things don't happen in that way. I'll end here by saying that it is our responsibility to be responsible in the way in which we do opposition. There are times when it is right that we act as far as we can in a non-political way, and the way in which we've gone about, for example, our approach to counter-terrorism is about, I think, putting the national interest first. I said to Theresa May from the very beginning that I would do everything I can to support her at all times on issues of national security and counter-terrorism, and that's what I will do. But it is also right that we ask the difficult questions and hold the government to account on things which matter greatly to the stability and security of our individual communities, the quality and independence of our policing, our ability to tackle antisocial behaviour and make communities feel safe. And I really worry about the combination of a rising security threat in the Olympics, a massive potential reshaping of the police landscape in terms of organisation, the most radical change in accountability in policing proposed for decades and decades, if ever, in the last 170 years, combined with the deepest budget cuts which we've seen outside the immediate post-war period any time in the last 100 years. I think this is a very, very dangerous combination to try to do all these things at the same time in a hurry. Conviction isn't enough. You've also got to get the facts right. You've got to build a consensus where you can. And I think it's very important that we play our part in making sure that very serious mistakes aren't made in the coming months. Thank you.